Last night, the Marlins came from behind to tie it in the ninth. Now, that was cool. But the Fish bullpen buckled in the 10th. And it was the Mets who laughed last. Page turn, Sunday arrives. Kids Sunday, sunshine, baseball, Marlins, Mets. Bring it on. Beautiful Sunday in South Florida, and a terrific day to finish off a three-game series, a game apiece. Marlins won the opener, Mets in extra innings last night. Hey, kids, can you hit a knuckleball? It's a Kids Sunday here at Sun Life Stadium as the Marlins and the Mets finish off a three-game series. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. Welcome to Sun Life Stadium. Extra innings last night, Tommy. The Marlins will have a short bench in this one. And the Mets just outlasted them last night.
Yeah, let me go on record and say I could not hit a knuckleball. So we'll talk about that later. But last night, a tough loss. I thought the good thing, we saw the game tied with the pinch hit single by Greg Dobbs. We saw some good starting pitching from Ricky Nolasco and some tremendous outfield defense.
Marlins have had two very good starts with Josh Johnson and Ricky Nolasco. And it's Meet Javier Vasquez Day here at the ballpark, as well as Kids Sunday. What will we see in Vasquez?
And as you get to know him a little bit more, you can call him Javi. That's what we do. He's been with 6 teams. He's a true veteran. This guy knows how to pitch. He's been healthy his entire career. 5 200 strikeout seasons. He's thrown 200 or more innings 9 of the last 11 years. So this guy is a workhorse. He's never been on the disabled list. He's the kind of guy you like to have in your rotation, and I think he fits very well with the young rotation the Marlins have.
It seems strange to say this about a player who plays in New York, but R.A. Dickey had one of the best under-the-radar seasons in all of baseball last year. The knuckleballer throws harder than most knuckleballers. He had a terrific year last year.
Yeah, he did. He didn't start the season with the Mets. He started in the minor leagues. When he came up, he ran off 6 wins in a row, but guess what? His first loss was to the Marlins. His knuckleball's a little harder. He'll also throw some other pitches. He'll mix in other pitches as well. But R.A. Dickey, a surprise, a nice year for the Mets last season.
It's R.A. Dickey who gets the ball. That's the career numbers for Dickey, but his ERA last year was under 3 in the starting rotation for the Mets. So knuckleballs on the menu. Javi Vasquez, we'll get to know him. And, of course, it's Kids Sunday here at Sun Life Stadium. When we get back, we'll see if Jeff Conine knows how to hit a knuckleball, as the Marlins and Mets are moments away. Here's the ballpark, and a good crowd is expected filing in. Marlin fans, going to have some Met fans here. Looks like a Beatles fan there. Let's go out to our Fab 2 and Craig Minervini and Jeff Conine. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Rich. It is a Kids Sunday here. It's always one of our fun days to talk baseball with you and explain a little more maybe than we normally do. Tonight, today, I should say, Jeff, you got some thoughts on the outfield, which was pretty impressive for the Marlins. There was that one play we talked about in the pregame with Cousins, but overall, for young guys making some big plays in the game last night.
Yeah, they worked really hard in spring training. We got one of the youngest outfields in the major league since 1990. So we'll take a look at a few balls here. You see Chris Coughlin, his first step, he reads the ball quickly, and his first step is back and on the line with the ball. And you see him get to this ball. It's not only the fastest guys make the best outfielders, it's the guys that make the best routes. Here again, we see a great jump and a great route by Logan. Foster makes a great heads-up play here. He tries to cut this ball off from getting to the wall. He notices when he comes up with it, he gets to it quickly. He's got time to look up and visualize the runner. He sees him get off the base a little too far right here. Makes a great strong throw and nails him. Big out.
You know, and not that far. That's how quick he was thinking about that. Because he wasn't like, 25 feet past the bat.
Exactly. It's the little things like that. When you realize something, you make a quick snap judgment and make good throws, and you get the ball quickly. As an outfielder, job is done.
The knuckler today, R.A. Dickey. Fashions a pretty good one for the New York Mets. How did you do against knucklers? We have the answer. I don't know if you do.
Oh, really? It's not a good answer. I know it's not a good answer.
We have the answer. Jeff Conine, in his career, 88 at-bats. But Wakefield was the one. Take Wakefield out of there.
Take Wakefield out of there. I'm a good knuckleball hitter.
17
guaranteed. And those
58.
that 4 for 30, those 4 were not solid hits. I think 2 of them were like broken bats. So it is not a fun thing to hit.
All right, 17 for 58. That's almost 300. That's about there.
Like I said, you take Wakefield out of there. There's something about him I could not hit.
All right, the Marlins will take a 300 average today, believe me, against R.A. Dickey. He's got pretty good control, too, for a knuckler. He went 5 games last year without even walking a hitter. Up next, rubber match. Rich Walsh, Tommy Hutt will have the call. Game 3 of the series coming at you.
Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Toyota, moving forward, and by AT&T. Warm day here in South Florida, and a good day to be at the ballpark. You can see the crowd still arriving. Marlins and Mets. one apiece in this 3-game series. The Mets lineup will be without Carlos Beltran. It still has the cool music going with it. Jose Reyes at short. Willie Harris had a big hit last night, drove in a couple. David Wright has had a good series. Ike Davis, a couple doubles last night. Angel Pagan in center. Lucas Duda is out in right field. Daniel Murphy gets a start at second base. Josh Tolley has started all 3 games behind the plate. And R.A. Dickey is pitching for the Mets. There's a look at Javier Vasquez making his Marlins debut.
Yeah, the 34-year-old right-hander, 152 wins in his career, 152 wins, 149 losses. And his career against the Mets, pretty good, 10-9 with a nice ERA at 3.16.
And he throws a strike to Jose Reyes.
Yeah, back-to-back guys, Rich. Last night, Ricky Nolasco, and this afternoon, Javier Vasquez. A couple of guys who throw lots of strikes.
Reyes was on that ball, and he drills it to right. Cousins plays it off the wall. Reyes stumbled around first, and Cousins' throw is not in time. It's a double for the Mets shortstop.
It's funny, we look at different hitters that have had success against pitchers and the matchups, and one of the hitters that had not had success against Vasquez was Jose Reyes. Reyes just 3 for 19 in his career. Now he's 4 for 20 against Vasquez, ripping that breaking ball that stayed up a little bit.
So Willie Harris, who had a starring role late in the ball game last night, he had that 2-run single in the 10th inning. The Mets scoring 3 times against Ryan Webb. Kind of a back and forth finish. The Mets taking a 3-2 lead in the 9th off of Leo Nunez. The Marlins bounce back, getting a run on a Greg Dobbs 2-out pinch hit single. But then the Marlins bullpen buckled again in the 10th. Webb giving up the 3 runs. Vasquez gets in on Harris, and that ball is out of play.
In this particular case, Vasquez trying to pitch Harris so he doesn't have something he can pull to the right side to move Reyes over to third.
Terry Collins giving Carlos Beltran a day off, waiting for Jason Bay to come back off the disabled list with the sore ribs.
Yeah, it really hurt.
Vasquez misses low and inside. And if you're Edwin Rodriguez, you come into this game with some question marks. Mike Stanton, we've been told, might be available to pinch hit. Donnie Murphy is available to pinch hit. The news on Murphy, good. Just a contusion, a bruise on that right hand, about 2 inches away from the wrist injury last year where he had extensive surgery. Murphy probably back in the starting lineup on Tuesday night. Harris jumps on that ball to right field. That's deep. That's gone. And Willie Harris pumps one in the seats. He had 10 home runs last year as a member of the Nationals.
Well, the home run ball hurt Javier Vasquez last year with the Yankees. He gave up 32 in a little over 157 innings. He's made a couple of mistakes, and he's paid this afternoon. That fastball up, out over the plate. The pitch that Reyes hit was a breaking ball, up a little bit. So the Mets have come out swinging, and they've gotten some mistakes.
The Mets faced Vasquez twice last year, and they've already scored as many runs as they did in those 2 starts combined. Vasquez went 13 innings and gave up just 2 runs against the Mets. And already it's 2-0 here, and David Wright takes a breaking ball for a strike. Wright, who just ate the Marlins alive last year at .391, showed that same stroke last night. He had 3 hits, drove in 2 runs, including a homer against Ricky Nolasco. And of course, his at bat in the 10th was an interesting one. After Scott Cousins let his pop-up fall in the right field foul territory, Wright would then punch a ball into center field and get the Mets going in that 10th inning.
It's one of those second guessers' delights. A lot of conversation about Scott Cousins letting that ball drop. And it's a decision he has to make quickly.
There were runners at first and second and nobody out, and Cousins and everybody knew if he caught the ball, both runners would have advanced.
If Wright makes an out, we're talking about the heads-up play of Scott Cousins. So because Wright got the hit, Cousins did say, and it's easy to say this now that he knows that Wright got the hit, if he had to do it over again, he'd probably make the catch. But it's a tough decision.
It's a play you usually see with a runner at third base.
And I know in talking with Edwin Rodriguez, Edwin had a talk with Scott, and he felt the same way. If you did it over again, in this instance, go ahead and make the catch.
Vasquez goes up with a fastball and fouls it off. So many variables to think about. Not sure that Cousins would have had to leave his feet, but it would have been a lunging catch, and he would have hit the wall as well. And you had good speed on the bases, and they were tagging and ready to roll. 3-2. Missed. Right is aboard. All your cooling. Bringing you our weather reports. Beautiful on Kids Sunday.
Just enough of a breeze to make it nice.
Ike Davis was a pain in the neck last night for the Fish. Ricky Nolasco gave up 2 doubles to the big first baseman. Davis has driven in a run in each of the 2 games.
Javier Vasquez will sink his fastball, run it in, use a curveball, a changeup. It was a 5th round draft pick of the Montreal Expos back in 1994.
When he was playing American Legion ball in Puerto Rico, there was a scout that saw him and liked him and developed a relationship with him. That scout happened to be Edwin Rodriguez. Rodriguez, at the time, I believe, was scouting for the Rays and also managing their short season team. He ended up scouting and signing Vasquez's brother, who was a catcher.
He used to work with his brother on his hitting.
So Edwin has known Javi Vasquez a long time. And what the Marlins are hoping for is what Vasquez has been able to do his entire career. And that's give you 32, 33 starts. Give your team a chance to win every time he takes the ball. His best year in Atlanta in this division in 2009, his ERA was 2.87. Ground ball, and that finds a hole. Wright's going to make a turn. Cousins has a strong arm. Here's the throw, and he's out.
Well, we've seen that, Rich, the last couple of spring trainings. Scott Cousins, we know, has a strong and pretty much all the time accurate throwing arm. Good changeup. Has Davis out in front, but he just finds that hole. But watch Cousins charge, pick, come up and fire a strike to third base. Nicely done.
You know, last night we were talking about Angel Pagan and a late blooming outfielder and a guy that, because of his great outfield skills, made teams and has been able to grow into a pretty good major league player. I think Scott Cousins is kind of like that too.
Sometimes too, Rich, a play like that just kind of gets you going. It's been a struggle these first few hitters for Javi Vasquez. And all of a sudden you get a little charge, a little momentum on your side now with a good defensive play.
And here is Pagan. And his offense, Tommy, has started to catch up with his defense as he's been able to play more in the big leagues and get more at bats.
Right now you're not seeing a comfortable Javier Vasquez. He's trying to find his way out there, trying to make some pitches. And again, that good play from Scott Cousins could turn around his game, too.
1 year, $7 million contract for Vasquez brought him to South Florida. This is his 412th Major League start. His record, 152 and 149. Now he's gone 3-0 on Pagan. He's not retired a batter yet.
I think just seeing him struggle throwing strikes is an indication that he's not on his game right now.
Gave up a lot of home runs last year, the 32 in 26 starts with the Yankees. And he doesn't get the corner there. Runners now first and second with one out.
That's a look at what Javier Vasquez did last year as a Yankee. The walk's high for him. Strikeouts second lowest of his career. He's not the strikeout pitcher that he once was. It's an amazing note that from 2001 through last year, Javier Vasquez led all major league pitchers in strikeouts. That would be a good trivia question.
So the Mets now first and second. And here is Duda. And if you leave one over the plate, Lucas Duda will hit it in the seats.
I'm trying to think on the positive side, Rich, and I'm trying to go back to last night's start for Jonathan Neese, who gave up 2 runs and threw 29 pitches in the first inning and then really settled in.
I think of all the Met heroes last night, Neese is front and center. Duda fouls it off. We focused on the late innings with all the heroics and things that happened. But if Neese doesn't settle down, that game gets away. Both pitchers who started last night ended up going 7 innings and giving up 2 runs. Nolasco and Neese. Vasquez is already at 24 pitches. Duda, the big USC Trojan. Spent last year in Buffalo. And a strike from home plate umpire Greg Gibson. And for a guy like Vasquez, who can keep it on the black, if you're wild early, it's going to be tough to get those things called. Tough to establish a strike zone for an umpire.
Yeah, even if you're a veteran.
There's a ground ball. Gabby has it out there. Hanley's turn. Oh! He threw it away. Vasquez picks it up. Runner comes home, and he'll score. Vasquez looked like he was at the bag. Hanley's throw looked like it was up the line, but we'll take a look at it.
Here's one of those defensive situations. The Marlins have a chance to get out of the inning. And the throw, a bad throw by Hanley, he'll be charged with the error. And because of that, another run comes in to score when, in fact, Vasquez could have been out of the inning with that 3-6-1 double play.
So an E6 in the books. There's no RBI. Here's Daniel Murphy. Murphy, who missed all of last season with a knee injury. Takes a fastball on the outside part. That's the Marlins' first error of the season.
And in this case, a costly one.
Fly ball pretty well hit. Morrison has a good look at it and makes the catch. And a 29-pitch nightmare of an inning is over for Javier Vasquez. For the Mets, and we'll see how that knuckler is dancing with Dickey.
Tough to really formulate a game plan. You can go up there with an idea, but a lot of it depends on how his knuckleball is dancing today.
The usual saying is, if it's high, let it fly. That means swing at it. If it's low, let it go. Like that pitch is usually going to die in the dirt.
More often than not, that one's going to go down.
Coughlin fouls it back. The thing about Dickey is that at one time he wasn't a knuckleball pitcher.
Yeah, his knuckleball is hard. It's not a soft one. It's really a feel-good story. He signed a long time ago. He's 15 years as a professional. And by the way, he's got a quick move to first base. 15 years as a pro, but this is just his 6th year in the major leagues.
He was a high draft pick of the Texas Rangers, a first-round pick back in 1996 out of the University of Tennessee. Coughlin sends it up the middle. Murphy throws him out. Let's take a look at the Mets defense. A few changes on the infield and in the outfield.
Yeah, we'll check in on the changes. Willie Harris, Pagan, and Duda in the outfield. David Wright and Reyes, no changes there. Daniel Murphy, not the most solid defensive second baseman. Ike Davis at first, he is solid. And Josh Tolley has caught all 3 games.
Here is Infante. Now, individually, there are some Marlins that have had success against Dickey. And Infante leads the group. He's 8 for 14 in his career against R.A. Dickey. Look at that. Hanley has good numbers. Gabby has good numbers. Dickey, All-American at Tennessee. Rangers took him in the first round. And just by chance, one of the Rangers doctors was looking at a picture. Dickey was in a photo with a couple other All-American pitchers. And the doctor looked at his right arm and said, you know, that doesn't look quite right. The way his arm kind of hangs. We ought to take a closer look physically at him. And they did an MRI and they found he did not have an ulnar collateral ligament. So he didn't have a ligament that everybody else has. And so he went from a guy that was going to sign $1 million contract to a guy that ended up signing for $75,000.
Yeah, it was really an odd story. They felt he was either born without it or he tore it and never regenerated.
But they signed him nonetheless. And as you pointed out, he started his climb, a slow climb, up the Rangers ladder. But he just didn't have the velocity. And he decided in 2005, you know what? I'm going to try throwing a knuckleball. And he strikes out Infante.
Now, we talked about how he began the season in Buffalo, AAA. And once he joined the Mets in mid-May, took a no decision his first outing, but then he ran off 6 consecutive wins. And his first loss was June 28th against the Marlins. Marlins got 5 runs and 5 hits against him in 5 innings.
Here's Hanley now. Hanley 2 for 9 on the series. I think what makes him, Dickey, even tougher than most knuckleballers, Tommy, is that he was a pitcher first. He was a guy that threw a fastball, a breaking ball. He wasn't just a guy that is up there, been throwing knuckleballs all his life.
And I don't think there has ever been a knuckleball. There was a fastball. I don't think there's ever been a knuckleball pitcher who hasn't, especially recently, found time to work with Charlie Huff, which he did back in '05.
It's a great point. He's sort of the go-to guy.
Kind of transitioned. At one time, it was Hoyt Wilhelm and Wilbur Wood.
Then the Negros
then
came
it went
along.
to the Negros. And someday, young knuckleballers will go to R.A. Dickey.
And I think many have gone to Tim Wakefield. And those knuckleballers, the guys that you've just talked about, they've been able to last a long time. I mean, Huff pitched till he was 46, Phil Niekro till he was 48, and Wakefield is 44.
It's a small fraternity, and they stay very close together.
They do have a secret handshake, though.
I think it has something to do with knuckles,
Yes,
too.
it
I'm not
does.
sure.
Reyes makes the throw, and R.A. Dickey goes 1-2-3 through the fish in the first. Mets off to a quick start today. There's Charlie. Club level amenities. It's the perfect choice for upscale client or employee entertainment. If you want to bring the family out for a big treat, you can do that as well. 305-626-SAVE. Go to marlins.com/groups today. Tommy, that sounds great. You get padded seats, flat screen TVs, air conditioning, and access to the club level amenities. That's better than.
That sounds like our booth.
That's better than our booth.
Yeah, we don't get access to those club level amenities.
Right.
Well, sometimes we.
Josh Tolley hits a bomb, but it's pulled foul. And for the Marlins, they've got to be a little concerned about Javier Vasquez after that first inning. The Mets got 3 runs on 3 hits. A throwing error by Hanley Ramirez made one of the runs unearned, but still, the Mets had good swings against Vasquez, and he walked 2.
At this point in his career, Javi Vasquez needs to have very good control. And right now he's struggling with it. He doesn't have, and that's why you've seen the Mets have good swings.
2-2. Saw Vasquez get a generous corner on the 2-strike pitch, so he went right back out there. (3-2). And he missed again outside. It's on a Kids Sunday. If you're not familiar with our telecast, Kids Sunday always has some Tommy's tips.
Well, it's a proper way to charge a ball if you're in the outfield. Watch how Cousins comes up, picks it on that side. That allows him to come up, transition, use his feet, and then make a strong throw. Boy, that's perfect. Textbook. So's that.
Dickey drops down a bunt, and he is out at first base. So the 3rd walk issued by Vasquez now resides at second base, and it's back to the top of the order. And the 2 guys that had the best swings against Vasquez, Reyes, who doubled off the wall, and Harris, who hit it over the wall in right field for a 2-run homer.
Already more walks than Vasquez is used to issuing, especially this early in the game.
He's all over the place, Tommy. I mean, you saw that last AB. He kept running balls outside and missing by a bunch. That one up and in. Comes back over the plate for a strike.
You know, velocity's not bad. There was a lot of talk when the Marlins signed Vasquez that he'd lost some velocity, and he has to a degree. But still, he can certainly pitch at 89 to 91. That last fastball was 91 miles an hour. But he has to pitch with control.
That one just low.
Close.
On Fox tracks, it's right at the knees. But as we pointed out, you have a messy first inning like he did. It's tough to get those corners or those borderline pitches.
Kind of like with you and I, if we start a telecast in a messy fashion, like if you spill something on your scorecard,
we lose our credibility at that point.
It takes you a few innings to get it back.
There's Tolley at second base. 1 out here in the 2nd. Vasquez, the 34-year-old out of Puerto Rico, Ponce, Puerto Rico. And that one misses up and out.
Not only the 3 walks, but a lot of deep counts.
Got him. Good movement on that pitch. And that's his first strikeout.
Reyes was the 4th batter to see 5 or more pitches. That fastball did have terrific movement. I think right now, if he starts spotting that pitch, then the confidence will come with the curveball and the changeup. But I don't think he has the confidence in the command of those other pitches right now.
Here's Willie Harris. The last 2 swings that Willie Harris has had have produced 4 runs. A 2-run hit last night in the 10th and the 2-run homer in the 1st. So he's one of those guys that if you opened up the stats today and you look at him and say who's leading the league in hitting, Willie Harris's name at 667 will be up around the top.
Would you throw, and maybe Harris is a little better hitter, and maybe the other guy I'm going to mention is a better defender, but you could throw a Willie Harris and a Dwayne Wise in the same category, and we saw a lot of Dwayne Wise in spring training.
If you could combine the two, then you'd have a little better hitter and a better defender.
And right at the last of spring, it was Wise who was sent down. He had a toe issue, and then he had a clause, he opted out of the contract and became a free agent. I think the Marlins were kind of hoping he would accept the assignment and he'd be a good insurance policy.
Especially on the heels of the Mike Stanton injury. That's a, the Marlins are hopeful that Stanton is A, available to pinch hit in this one, and B, ready to go on Tuesday night. But you never know.
Yeah, you never know. And I don't know if I've read, I haven't seen if Wise has signed with anybody.
There's a pop up in a shallow left. Morrison coming a long ways. Makes the catch. And so Vasquez pitches his way out of the second. It's 3-0.
My credibility sometimes wavers.
Here's Gabby now. You know, we talked so much about hitting a knuckleball. We're watching Josh Tully trying to catch a knuckleball, and he's got one of those hybrid gloves on, which is part catcher's glove, part first baseman's glove.
Not that a catcher ever feels comfortable catching a knuckleball pitcher, but Tully did say he handled Dickey most of the time last year, so he's getting a little more comfortable, getting used to it.
One and two. Gabby 4 for 8 against Dickey, a homer and 6 RBIs. And Sanchez nearly falls over swinging at that pitch. What What does it for a knuckleball, Tommy? What conditions are prime for?
You know, there are all kinds of theories. One theory is that humidity helps a knuckleball pitcher. On the other hand, there were knuckleball pitchers that pitch better inside. And the bottom line to hitting a knuckleball, and Niner can attest to this as well, if it's a good one, you're not going to hit it. The only way you're going to have success is if he makes mistakes and doesn't have it dancing.
Does he throw the hardest knuckleball you've seen?
His is like Joe Niekro's. Now, Joe used to throw other stuff too, sliders and fastballs. Wakefield's is not as hard. Phil Niekro's wasn't as hard. Candiotti kind of mixed both things in too with other stuff.
We saw Dickey snap off an 87-mile-an-hour fastball to Hanley in his at-bat. Morrison pulls that one foul.
Charlie Huff's wasn't quite as hard as Dickey throws it.
And Dickey has good enough control on it right now that 2-0, you're not going to get a fastball. You're still going to get a knuckleball.
That tells you the confidence he has in throwing it for a strike.
And when you're a knuckleballer or even a contact type pitcher, you have to do a lot of other things right. You talked about Dickey's move to first is good. He's one of the best fielding pitchers in the game.
Swings a bat all right.
In his last 350 innings in the big leagues, he's made one error. He very easily could have won the Gold Glove last year in the National League. Little tapper out towards second. Murphy makes the play. Bronson Arroyo of the Reds won the Gold Glove for pitchers. Dickey had 26 starts with the Mets and was second in assists for pitchers. Pitch misses inside. John Buck 3 for 8 on the series. You see the numbers. The 4 RBIs came on the grand slam. Gets into that one and drives it in the gap, left center field. Pagan won't get it. It bounces off the wall, and Buck wanders into second base. Piece of hitting. 4 hits now in the series. 2 doubles on the season.
We'll get a chance to see, all right, why and how did John Buck hit this knuckleball from R.A. Dickey. Bottom line on this one, it looked like it drifted in and kind of stayed in a nice hitting area. It didn't have that nice dance to it. There's the power alley on Kids Sunday. We'd like to give you a few terms, areas in the outfield between right center and left center.
I've got an advanced Tommy's tip for you here. When you're a switch hitter against a knuckleballer, hit from the side from which the knuckleballer is throwing, and that's what Bonifacio is doing. The switch hitter will hit right-handed against Dickey.
And it's not so much from the side he's throwing, it's from the side that probably the original side of the switch hitter. Originally a right-handed hitter, which most switch hitters were. Lance Berkman an exception, by the way. He was an original left-handed hitter.
Bonifacio shoots it down the right field line, and it's just foul.
I want to go back to John Buck and watch where this pitch stays. It floats. Didn't have that real dive to it, and John Buck stayed on it, and because of that was able to find that power alley in left center.
Ball and a strike. Bonifacio, a couple hits last night. And a knuckleball for a strike.
That was very close to not pausing when Dickey came to the set position.
Bonifacio goes after a pitch that runs up Dickey has 3 strikeouts. The Marlins have just 1 hit, and the Mets are still on top. There, along with Dan Patrick, exclusive guests, high-profile athletes, celebrities, breaking sports news, and unparalleled insider access and pop culture commentary. Dan Patrick Show, weekdays 9 a.m. on FSN. David Wright against Vasquez. This has to be a very different look for Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire. From one half inning, you go to the dancing knuckleball. The next, you go to the darting fastball of Vasquez.
Not an easy day for a home plate umpire.
One. That one just missed. That's been the best pitch that Vasquez has been able to throw, is that fastball low in the zone. One that has been able to move.
You can see him, he moves it in to a right-hander. He'll move it away occasionally. A little slider there.
He was 4th in the Cy Young voting after that season in Atlanta in 2009. Hanley darts to his left, and the throw on the mark to get right.
So a little slider, then he came back in with that moving fastball to just tie David Wright up enough.
When he was a kid growing up in Puerto Rico, the team that he followed and loved, the Atlanta Braves, because they were on the Superstation. He used to love to watch Greg Maddux pitch.
And then had one of his finest major league seasons as an Atlanta Brave.
A lot of people said, well, you know, when he gets back in the National League, he should have success after last year in New York with the Yankees. But overall, National League, he's 90 and 93, an ERA of 4.02. American League, 62 and 56 with a 4.65 ERA. A lot of American League time with the White Sox. We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Hey guys, Cookie Rojas was telling me before the game that he actually gave Vasquez, a young teenage Vasquez, his first start ever when he was with Ponce in the winter leagues for Puerto Rico. And he said Freddie Gonzalez was his third base coach.
Cookie was the manager.
That ball's crushed and gone. Mike Davis jacks one out, and the Mets have hit 2 homers against Vasquez.
Well, Mike Davis with the green light on that 3-0 fastball. He knows, and Terry Collins knows the control that Vasquez usually has, and he's going to get that 3-0 cookie, and he deposited that cookie in the right field bleacher seats.
With all apologies to Cookie Rojas. Time now for the Coors Light Cold Hard Blast.
And there it was.
Angel Pagan. Pagan back in the first walk. 3 walks issued by Vasquez. And he has just 1 strikeout. And he's constantly pitching from behind right now. This has all the makings of an early arrival from Brian Sanchez in about the 4th or the 5th inning, because Vasquez is about to throw his 60th pitch.
Yeah, he just cannot pitch from behind. He has to have that control, and he has to get ahead.
Walk number 4. After the weekend series with the Mets, the Nationals arrive on Tuesday. Miami Herald will have a 2 for Tuesday coupon for you. And then on Wednesday, it's the $7.90 the ticket night. You get $7.90 tickets on Wednesday, 1-877 Marlins, or go to marlins.com.
We're talking about it last night, Rich, about Livan Hernandez. He'll pitch the middle game of that series on the Wednesday against Chris Volstad.
Runner was leaning, and Vasquez throws to first. Pagan has good wheels. He stole 37 bases last year. Edward Mujica is up. Big rip there by Lucas Duda.
When the decision was made, and it was a tough one in the bullpen to send Burke Badenhop down, one of the things that factored in was guys like Brian Sanchez and Mujica can also give Edwin multiple innings, 2 or 3 innings.
Shot into right field. I don't think Pagan is going to test Cousins' arm. And Vasquez gives up another hit. 5 hits, 4 walks, 2 homers, and now a visit from Randy St. Clair, probably buying time for Mujica to get ready, because this is a game that is on the verge of getting away from the fish.
Not the type of Marlins debut Javier Vasquez wanted to have. Look at the ratio. 62 pitches, as many balls as strikes.
Here's Murphy. Daniel, a Jacksonville kid, Englewood High School, and a star at Jacksonville University. Center field, Coughlin turns and runs and looks, and it bounces over the wall. It's a ground rule double. It scored just 1 run. And that may be the last pitch of the game for Vasquez.
Yeah, not fooling anybody, not hitting his spots. Man, a lot of the pitches that the Met hitters have been right there. And Murphy, it's a nice story for the Mets and for him. He missed pretty much all of last year. He played 11 games in the minor leagues with knee surgery. So the Mets are happy to have him back.
So the Marlins in an interesting spot here with one out. They're going to walk Tolley to bring up Dickey. But it also increases the likelihood that you're going to face Reyes. Tolley's had a great series. He's 3 for 6. He walked back in the second inning. He had the run-scoring single against Leo Nunez in the 9th. And Edwin's coming out, going to make the change. So a tough debut for Javier Vasquez in a 5-0 lead right now for the Mets. Mojica makes his Marlins debut. And Marooney calls to the pen.
When you need a car, truck or van, who you gonna call?
In that one, and here is Edward Mojica. Ground ball, Bonifacio comes to the plate and throws it over the head of Buck. 2 runs are going to score, and this game has gone from bad to worse. Marlins got exactly what they wanted here. And this might have been a ball that Bonifacio should have gone to second base on.
Either way, whatever choice you make, you have a chance for double play because remember, Dickey hit the ball. Doesn't run that well. And by throwing it away, you get nothing, and the Mets are able to get a couple of more runs.
And it looks like Mojica may have hurt himself.
Right now, this is as ugly as it gets. Boy, got that ground ball. Mojica, a guy who throws a lot of strikes.
And the ground ball actually brought Bonifacio to his left, which makes an easier throw to second base to return the double play. Here's Mujica coming after the wild throw. So it's going to go as an error on Bonifacio. And now, you know, the Marlins had intentionally walked Tolley to set up the possibility of the double play. They don't get anything, and now they have to face
the top of the order,
Reyes. And it's 7-0. Runners at the corners. Dickey is at first. And Mujica's pitch has popped up. Hanley will make the catch. And up comes Willie Harris. Tough to know what type of season a player is going to have from looking at his spring training numbers. But spring training was not kind to Mujica.
No, it wasn't. The 26-year-old Venezuelan coming over in that trade with the Padres on with Ryan Webb. He's a guy who attacks hitters, sinkers, a slider, and his out pitch is a splitter to left-handers. But he got in trouble a little bit last year. He gave up 14 home runs. So sometimes that splitter hung up in the zone, and a lot of opposing hitters took him deep.
He's so aggressive at the strike zone. And sometimes you hear the term, the guy sometimes throws too many strikes.
Yeah, you might think that sounds funny, but that can't happen. But a solid year with San Diego. ERA 3.62, 59 games.
Came to the Padres organization in 09 from the Indians organization.
A couple of years ago with the Padres, he was in 67 games, but he actually started 4 times.
And just 6 walks in 69 innings. 3-1. That's low and inside. So he walked only 6 men all of last year. And he walks Harris. And so instead of facing Harris with 2 outs, he gets to face David Wright.
Not only does he get to face David Wright, he gets to do so with the bases loaded.
4 grand slams in his career. And we told you last year, just clobbering the Marlins, hit 391. Last night he had 3 hits, including a homer.
You know, people will say, well, don't you have all these scouting reports, the video? And yes, you do. And you know what hitters' weaknesses are. But if you can't hit those spots and make pitches, then David Wright's going to continue to have success.
And the hitters have lots of video and scouting reports as well on the pitchers.
And they, in turn, make adjustments.
Vasquez unable to get through the 3rd inning. That one fouled at the plate. 2 1/3 in this start from Vasquez. That's after getting 6 2/3 from Josh Johnson and 7 from Ricky Nolasco. There's Tolley. Across the diamond, Dickey. Dickey hit the ground ball to Bonifacio that looked like it would be a double play, but Bonifacio came home and threw it away. And the Mets scored twice. Mujica challenges with a fastball. Mujica is out of Venezuela.
And I'll tell you, no excuses. I mean, you got Bonifacio, you got Scott Cousins playing. You didn't expect them to be in the starting lineup. But you know what? The Mets have guys out too. and they have guys injured.
Bay is on the
So
disabled
no
list.
excuses at all for
absolutely.
the play of today.
Beltran's getting the day off. Roller out towards short. Hanley flips it, and Infante is at the bag. A long and painful inning in which the Mets score 4 times, makes it 7-0. Been Mets Sunday so far, a 7-0 lead. The Marlins are not only down 7-0, but they're facing a knuckleballer, Rich Waltz, along with Tommy Hutton. And for you kids out there that want to fool around with a knuckleball, and who doesn't in baseball? Everybody says they can throw a knuckleball.
Everybody does. Back in AAA years ago, Hoyt Wilhelm came to join the Spokane team and taught everybody. Most of the time, and contrary to the name of the pitch, it's not really on your knuckles. It's thrown off the fingertips, mostly on the horseshoe of the seams right there, sometimes on this side. But it's fingertips, and a lot of it is a flick as you release the ball. People think you put those knuckles on there, but actually knuckleball pitchers are notorious for carrying around a nail file and keeping the fingernails just right so they could get that grip with the fingertips.
Got to have the right cuticles as well. That's very important.
If you have an injured cuticle, which I was reading the other day Ubaldo Jimenez had, that he does not throw a knuckleball, but it affected him, then you'd have trouble. It's amazing how it all comes around to that.
Cousins laces that one foul. Where do you go if you're a knuckleball pitcher and you have cuticle issues?
You go to a good recommended manicurist.
There you go. I could just see R.A. Dickey there sitting in the lounge waiting with everybody for a manicure.
Of course, then again, there was that infamous, if you can picture and remember, Joe Negro, when the umpire came to the mound to check, and he pulled his back pocket and flipped the nail file out.
And the best part was, as he flipped it out, he put his hands up like, I don't have anything.
Yeah, what are you looking for? Well, in his case, it wasn't to keep the nails. He was doing a little something to the ball at that time. Scuff marks on the ball.
Cousins. Donnie Murphy is on deck. And Brian Sanchez is loosening up in the bullpen. It's one of the reasons that I think Edwin really wanted Vasquez to at least finish the inning, because he's due up second in this inning. Now, obviously, that's Mojica's spot since Cousins walks. Here comes Murphy, and what a scare last night for Murphy and for the Marlins. You see Sanchez warming up. When Murphy was hit on that right hand, he came out of the game immediately. It was just a contusion.
He's tough. I think we all know that. Just the way he's been able to come back from that injury. By the way, a nice at bat from Scott Cousins, who told me he saw a little bit of Dickey in the minor league, so he's seen him before. Because you're a young hitter, you don't see many knuckleball pitchers coming up in the minors. There's a fastball.
We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Craig, you need batteries. Need batteries.
There we go. Thank you, guys. Donnie Murphy was very fortunate because it looked like he might have got hit in the exact same spot. He dislocated his wrist last September. He might have ended the year. Last night he got hit in the 7th inning. It was on the right hand, but described about an inch or two above where he dislocated that wrist, sort of in the meaty part of his right hand, right about over here, versus the wrist where he dislocated. So that's the good news. It's still sore, and of all places to get hit, it's not easy as a right-handed hitter to get hit in that spot. The ball kind of ran in on him and hit him there. It's sore. He took BP today, took a little warm-ups also in the cage, and felt he could at least do this and pinch hit, and maybe back in the lineup as early as Tuesday.
Oh, I guarantee he'll be back
yeah.
with the way he is. There's no question.
I'm kind of surprised to see him out there now, considering where he got hit with that pitch last night, but that does describe Donnie Murphy.
Murphy up. Thank you, Craig. With nobody out, Cousins at first. The Marlins in a 7-0 hole against Dickey, who throws a fastball at 84 miles an hour. If you sit on the knuckleball, he will throw that fastball. And then he'll float one up there, and it's fouled off. It's 2-2. Braves and the Nationals 1-1 in the 3rd. Brewers and Reds tied at 2 in the 4th. Ricky Weeks is homered for Milwaukee. Johnny Gomes for Cincinnati. Murphy hits a pop-up. Daniel Murphy goes out to make the catch. He was there and does. There's one out here in the 3rd. Coughlin coming up. Headlines around baseball in this opening weekend. The Rays have lost Evan Longoria for a while. A strained oblique has put him on the disabled list. Though the Cardinals have yet to put Matt Holliday on the disabled list after he had the emergency appendectomy.
And Rich, that same injury, the oblique strain, putting Jair Jurgens on the disabled list for the Atlanta Braves.
Coughlin takes a strike. You know what? Just to finish the story, I did not see this headline until moments ago. That one goes to the screen. The headline, you were talking about Ubaldo Jimenez and his issues.
Yeah, the cuticle thing.
The headline reads, Ubaldo Jimenez blames cut cuticle. A cracked cuticle was the culprit, it says. This is the Associated Press story. In Jimenez, unusually poor performance on opening day, and it could force him to miss his next start.
Well, you have that dry, cool air in Denver. Might have contributed to the cuticle issues.
I don't like to use it as an excuse. I had a bad game, but anyone who was watching could tell something was wrong, said Jimenez.
All of a sudden, in this inning, Dickey not quite the same command he had with the knuckleball the first couple of innings.
He's gone 2-2 on Coughlin. Let's see if he throws him a fastball.
Nope, that knuckleball really took off when it got up there.
That's outside, and it pops out of the glove of Tolley. And I know it's 7-0. You think back for the Marlins, the 2 errors, Hanley's throwing error, which cost him a run, and Bonifacio's throwing error, which cost him 2 runs. So 3 unearned runs obviously was a bad start by Javier Vasquez, but it could have been a 4-0 game. Instead, it's a 7-0 game. So Marlins not only have to chip away, but they're probably going to have a big inning along the ways as well if they're going to get in this game.
And if they are, they've got the right people coming up. We talked about the success Infante's had against Dickey, 8 for 15, and Hanley 6 for 13 against him.
Well, here is Infante. He's one of 3 strikeout victims on the day for Dickey.
It's a rough inning for the catcher, Josh Tolley, too. The wild pitch, that last one, a pass ball.
Now he's throwing a fastball down low. With a 7-0 lead, you would think if his knuckler is suddenly on the fritz, he could mix in some more conventional pitches.
That's a good point. I think it's a time as a hitter you have to change your thinking a little bit. Because of the score, you might want to sit on a fastball.
He just threw 2 of them in a row to Infante. Cousins and Coughlin. There's that quick move. Infante reaches out and hits a fly ball to center field. Pagan makes the catch. Runner tags. Cousins with good speed is going to come home. The Marlins are finally on the board. Infante with a sacrifice fly. So here comes Hanley. Coughlin still at first. Hanley bounced to short. Hanley has a 9-game hitting streak. That dates back to 7 games of last year and the first 2 of this year.
A few of the Marlin hitters talking about Bobby Parnell last night, the stuff they were seeing from him. A little different stuff from R.A. Dickey today. Thing for a catcher, you don't see it too often. With the knuckleball, it's hard for that catcher to get a ball and frame it. You know, I see catchers try to bring a ball back on the inside corner. That's really hard to do with a knuckleball.
Hanley fouls it off. Of course, the Red Sox went through. Was it Doug Mirabelli was the Tim Wakefield catcher of choice? Remember when they let him go? They had to get him back.
They needed to get him back. Where'd he go, to San Diego for Josh
Bard?
Yeah.
And Bard had a heck of a time trying to catch Wakefield.
And Tolley's having his battle in this inning, too.
I mean, you just think about it. If it's hard to catch, think about how hard it is to hit.
And a catcher has an oversized catcher's mitt, and he's having a tough time catching it. And then you expect to hit it with a bat. It's such a unique pitch. There are hitters that don't like to face it. I remember in a spring game when the Mets played the Cardinals up in Jupiter, Albert Pujols didn't play that day.
Dickey strikes out Hanley. The Marlins are on the board, but still down big in this one, 7-1.
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know.
We got to find out his surname, though. Ryan apparently not his given birth name, so maybe we should find that out and go from there.
What you're saying is we need to delve a little deeper.
After we introduce Brian Sanchez.
Well, it came down to Brian Sanchez and Burke Badenhop, a couple of guys who are good friends, and they knew it was going to be one or the other, making the team and not. The bottom line, they each can give you multiple innings, and each has had success at this level. And Brian Sanchez, the last 2 years, has had an ERA in the 2s. Coming out of the bullpen, using that splitter to perfection, some sliders.
Cousins is in, and Sanchez gets it out. And the Marlins, it wasn't like they don't like the Hopper or Sanchez, but they made trades to bolster their bullpen, and the 4 guys that they brought in, you knew the 2 lefties were pretty much going to make the team, and Mujica
and the other guys didn't have options either.
Did not have options, and so the only way the Marlins could hold on to everybody was by sending Badenhop down.
And since this is Kids Sunday, we like to try to explain things, maybe even to some adults. But if you don't have options and the team wants to send you down, they have to expose you to waivers, and that means any other team can pick you up. And certainly a guy like Brian Sanchez would have been picked up.
And the reason that that rule is in place is so teams can't just prevent a guy from playing in the major leagues and just keep him in AAA his entire career.
And you're allowed so many options during your career.
Were the option rules the same when you were coming up?
Nah, they were a little different.
Because I know you, I don't want to say languished in AAA, but you had incredible AAA years, but were stuck behind a juggernaut in the making in Los Angeles with the Dodgers.
Yeah, they I remember one year in particular, 1969, Wes Parker, their first baseman, had an appendectomy. And so the Dodgers called me up from AAA, and I did fine, did all right while I was there. But on the 28th or 29th day, they sent me back to AAA, even though Wes Parker wasn't available for another week, because had I stayed beyond 30 days, they would have had to use an option, and they didn't want to use an option. I don't know if that rule is still the same now. We have to file that away for one of the nights we get Mike Hill on with us, Marlins general manager. We'll talk to him about that.
Bonifacio calling for it. Buck is there, and Buck makes the catch. That's a long way to go for a catcher. Right to the coach's box at third base, but Buck made a nice play. Nice inning by Brian Sanchez.
And a low pitch inning by Brian Sanchez because he's going to be needed. He only threw 6 pitches.
Gabby Sanchez, Logan Morrison, and John Buck against R.A. Dickey. Marlins got to Dickey without a hit in the third. A couple of walks, wild pitches, and a sacrifice fly. Gabby has had particular difficulty against the knuckleball. He struck out in the second. Got jammed, and Murphy makes the play. Tommy, there was some confusion. Our crack staff cracked a little bit on this one.
It happens. It happens.
Some confusion. Here's how it read. Brian Braun shares his surname with what Major League pitching great Sandy Koufax was actually born Sanford Braun.
Wow.
Koufax was his stepfather's name.
Interesting.
Logan Morrison takes outside.
What a gentleman. Sandy Koufax, the Hall of Famer, always makes a little tour of spring training. He always remains under the radar and stops into a few camps. He stopped into the Mets camp, the Dodgers camp, of course.
One of those guys that you always wonder what his career, obviously one of the all-time greats, but had he been pitching in the 90s or in this day and age, the length of his career might have been doubled because he retired with just so much pain in that shoulder.
Different surgeries and rehab things. What would have happened? Yeah. Because the 4 or 5 year period where he was healthy, he was unbelievably dominant.
Well, here's Buck. He's probably had the best swing against Dickey. He has the only hit. He got a soft knuckler on the inside part and drilled it in the gap in left center. Bonifacio is on deck. Now it's 2-0. Dickey is now pumping in more fastballs. What does pitch count mean to a knuckleball pitcher?
Generally, over the years, knuckleball pitchers can throw a lot of pitches, and they could go on 2 or 3 days rest. But you can tell the last 2 innings, especially, he just doesn't have the same command that he had the first 2.
All right, he's just thrown a couple of fastballs in a row. He threw one on 3-0. You think Buck's going to get one 3-1?
I think he'll get a knuckleball.
He had a fastball, and he hits it to right. Duda dives and makes the catch. Lucas Duda normally is a left fielder, and that one tailed away from him.
Yeah, he took a poor route, but was able to regroup and make the grab. Known for his offense more than his defense, but he was able to scramble and make the catch. Again, I thought he might see a knuckleball, but I think as a hitter, you have to, in a case like this where he's been struggling, you have to look for the fastball and be ready for it. And if he throws a knuckleball, take it, because he's throwing more fastballs now. See if he throws it here 1-0.
He's behind at 2-0, and as the pattern we've seen, And this wasn't the pattern when the game was tight. It's the pattern now that it's 7-1. He falls behind in the count. He starts dialing up the fastball.
Then on the other hand, he may try to work in a knuckleball to try to get himself back in a groove. But to Bonifacio, and you have to think of the hitter too. If he goes knuckleball or fastball, another fastball, and that had some sink to it, and it was out of the strike zone.
So instead of 3-1, Bonifacio swinging at a bad pitch. It's now 2-2, and now if he wants to throw a couple knuckleballs up there and try to get a strikeout, he can. He did, and he picks up a ground ball, flips it over to first in time. Bonifacio is out. The Marlins still have only one hit and one run against R.A. Dickey. And the Mets are as well. The Mets on top of the Marlins big 7-1 on a Kids Sunday. Brian Sanchez faces the Mets catcher, maybe the busiest guy in the ballpark, Josh Thole, then R.A. Dickey and Jose Reyes.
Yeah, we again give you lots of terms on Kids Sunday. Catchers, yep, they use the tools of ignorance. No idea where that was derived from. Catcher's equipment, because you got to be smart to be a catcher.
So smart that if one glove isn't working,
yeah, you go with another one. And remember, we had a shot of Thole with that dark catcher's mitt. He had a little trouble. He had a pass ball. He had some trouble, so he went next inning and changed to a different catcher's mitt.
Now the new one that he's been using on the right, the lighter one, looks more like a first baseman's glove than the other glove. They're both kind of hybrid catcher first baseman gloves.
To me, the darker one, the black one, looked like it was a newer glove, and he was having maybe a little trouble with it, so he went with the other one. Always got to have a backup.
Sanchez misses outside. You're right about Brian Sanchez. A lot of people forgot about him when the Marlins acquired those 4 arms in the offseason. Guys like Clay Hensley and Sanchez and Badenhop have been pretty solid the last couple of seasons. Ground ball out towards second. Infante has it. In fact, Sanchez has posted 2 seasons in a row with ERAs in the 2s. Last year his ERA was 2.26. In 2009 it was 2.56.
I like the number because sometimes you see one leaning a little bit more the other. But last year, lefties hit 192 and righties hit 195 against him.
Randy St. Clair said that Sanchez has had 2 years of just great command. And St. Clair would know, he was the pitching coach up in Washington when Sanchez was a national briefly. And of course, the oddity about Sanchez and Hensley is that they both pitched for Lamar University. And here they are, it's their second consecutive year on the same team.
Thing about Brian, he has 3 quality pitches. He has a, not an overpowering, but a fastball that he can spot, generally with real good control. Right there, he has that slider, and he has that good split.
Barry Beinfest and Michael Hill might want to go out and see if Lamar University has any more relievers.
I believe another Lamar University, I don't want to say graduate, I don't think he graduated, Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar went to Lamar.
Yeah.
Now Reyes. Sanchez starts him with a strike. There are guys that have better stuff than Sanchez in terms of fastballs and sliders or a Nunez changeup, but stuff doesn't always get you outs in the big leagues. And the ability to command a fastball, release the split with the same arm angle and the same arm speed as the fastball can be more effective than just throwing hard or having one devastating pitch.
That's why you see all these young pitchers, they're drafted, and a lot of times they're drafted on stuff, but they don't advance real far if they never learn to command that stuff.
Reyes, right field. Cousins got turned around twice, and he makes the catch on the warning track. Another scoreless inning for Brian Sanchez. 7-1, Mets on top.
93. Some other Met combinations of note over the years, third and short. Garrett and Bud Harrelson, Wayne Garrett, 386 games. And Edgardo Alfonso and Ray Ordonez hooked up with a couple of third basemen for over 300 games. Robin Ventura and Ordonez for almost 300 games. You look at the Marlins last night, and Donnie Murphy and Ramirez have only played a handful of games. Even Bonifacio and Hanley a handful of games. So that's good for the chemistry. Probably like some of your old mates there with Say and who was it, Russell over there at shortstop for the Dodgers, had that long run with the other side of the infield too.
Yeah, I can think of Larry Bowe and Mike Schmidt.
Yeah,
were together a long time.
The Marlins, and we had Mike Lowell.
And Alex Gonzalez, I would guess maybe would be the longest.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey was in the booth and talked about that infield and how it was an infield that took its lumps in the late 90s and into the early 2000s. Cousins swings and misses.
I like what Mikey said the other day. And there's so much to this, and you put guys together, you don't realize that it takes time to get used to everybody. And remember, he said he learned how well Alex could go to his right, so that allowed him to move a little bit and maybe take away some doubles on balls hit down the line.
Sanchez forced to take an at-bat. The Marlins down 7-1 with a thin bench. Donnie Murphy has already made a pinch hitting appearance and popped out. Sanchez does have 5 at-bats in the big leagues. Although if you're a pitcher, isn't this the type of guy you want to face, Tommy, instead of a guy throwing 93 with a nasty hook?
Absolutely.
0-2.
And he gets the fastball.
Dialed up 86. To Sanchez. He lines it into right field. He better hustle. And he beats it out. That's his first big league hit.
Get the baseball. Brian Sanchez is now 1 for 6.
He nearly came out of his pants on that swing. His shirt popped out. Watch this.
You got that fastball. Hardly ever get a chance to swing the bat. You get it during BP a little bit. Don't have it pats during spring training.
And he's thinking, oh, don't get thrown out at first.
That was a play you saw a lot more on AstroTurf. You get a slow runner, a pitcher, or even a hitter. If he smoked a one-hopper to the right fielder on AstroTurf, you'd see a lot of outs at first base.
Coghlan. So Sanchez is going to get back to the dugout and look at guys like Infante and Hanley and Coghlan and Gabby and Morrison and say, it wasn't so hard.
He's saying, yeah, you didn't have to see that knuckleball, though.
Coghlan didn't think that was a strike. You can see it's up against the border. It certainly very easily could be called the ball. There's the 1-2. Struck him out.
I think the best thing for the Marlins is they get the off day tomorrow and can regroup to face a normal pitcher.
That's a very good pitch. I think Coghlan's reaction
is more of frustration.
Yes.
And on Tuesday night against the Nationals, it'll be Anibal Sanchez against Jason Marquis.
Infante rips one into left field. So a couple strikeouts, a couple hits this inning. And It's going to bring Hanley up with runners at first and at second. Full season ticket plans in the new Marlins ballpark are available now for 2012. Select your seats in that ballpark. Be part of the future of Marlins baseball in Miami. Just place a deposit today. Call the Marlins ballpark sales headquarters at 877-411-2012 or go to marlins.com/new ballpark.
You know, we told you earlier of Infante's success. He did strike out his first time, but a sac fly and a single, so he's 9 for 16 now in his career against Dickey.
Hanley was 6 for 12 against Dickey when the day started. He's now 6 for 14. Oh, he got one to hit there, too. A pitch up. It's 0-2. DJ Carrasco in the Mets bullpen. Of course, one guy the Mets don't have in their bullpen this year is Pedro Feliciano, who signed a 2-year, $8 million contract with the New York Yankees. But his shoulder was sore at the end of spring training. And a little bit of back and forth between the two New York teams, with Brian Cashman, the Yankees general manager, saying that the Mets abused the left-handed reliever when he was in New York. Hanley, a little tapper out to second base, and Murphy flips on over to first. Couple of hits, but no runs, and Dickey is still the master. Two errors, two costly errors, resulting in 3 unearned runs. It was a short start for Javier Vasquez. He went just 2 1/3 innings. Edward Mujica made an appearance, but Brian Sanchez has pitched the last 2 innings, and the Marlins are asking him to go at least 1 more. You can join Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association in helping Japan's children in need. Visit unicef.org or text Japan to 864233 to donate $10. Standard text messaging and transactional fees apply. For more information, visit MLB.com/Japan Relief. Willie Harris stands in. David Wright, Ike Davis waiting in the wings. Sanchez misses.
We were talking earlier, Rich, about shortstop and third base combos. Craig was with the Mets. Hanley has had 11 different third basemen that he's played next to, in the most 290 games with Miguel Cabrera.
Willie Harris to right field. Cousins is back, and he makes the catch. Let's count them. You got Wes Helms. You've got Donnie Murphy.
Bonifacio.
Who else has started a game at third base? Miguel Cabrera.
Miggy.
That's 4. Would you say 9?
11.
Oh, 11. Jorge Cantu. It's 5.
We have to start going back now a few years.
Utility guys that may have gotten a start there. Chad Tracy got a start there, so that's 6.
Oh, Amezica.
Well, there
Had to start some games at third.
That's 7. That's a tough one to get. Is Hector Luna. We're up to 8. Hold on.
Aaron Boone.
There you go, Aaron Boone. That's 9, right? So we're two third basemen shy. That's right. Boone got some starts there. Back in 06, Miggy was pretty durable, so he was.
Todd Zeal. No, that's way too far back. A lot of these guys only played a handful of games. That's what makes it tough.
Hector Luna would fit in that category.
As would Andy Gonzalez. We're getting a few hits. Are we thinking Josh Booty, or is that too early?
Did Dallas McPherson ever get to the big leagues with the Marlins and play a game or 2?
Yeah, 2 games, we're told. Dallas McPherson.
Swing and a miss. Sanchez gets right.
And in the meantime, this is where a guy like Brian Sanchez gets cut short in commentary. And we got to stay with it, because a game like this, it's been all Mets. Things haven't looked good. The Marlins haven't played bad. And so you go into other subjects. But you know what? Brian Sanchez has been outstanding, as he has one more out to get 3 innings of work. And what he's doing today, he's helping the staff.
Here's Ike Davis, who was singled homered and flied out. Sanchez misses outside with a fastball. Mets bullpen. Chris Capuano, former Milwaukee Brewers, where the Marlins have seen most of Capuano. Arizona Diamondback as well. 18,936 the attendance. Well, Sanchez, the lone blemish, the hit batter, hit Lucas Duda back in the 4th. One. Brian misses up and out. For opening weekend, the Marlins over 92,000. They have 41,000 plus on Friday, 32,000 plus last night, and close to 19,000 today. So 92,668 through the gates. That's right on the corner. And that's the command that St. Clair told us about with Sanchez. He said that when Brian was coming up and getting his first taste of the big leagues with the Nationals and with the Phillies, he didn't have that fastball command. And that sets up everything else that he throws.
Yeah, you pinpoint that fastball in and out. The other stuff falls into place. Like the splitter.
Tumbling splitter. Infante deep and makes a nice throw. Gabby the pick. Terrific play. Omar Infante in shallow right center with some help from Gabby Sanchez. In a third inning, 7 runs, 4 earned, 6 hits, 2 homers. And with R.A. Dickey baffling everybody, except maybe Brian Sanchez and John Buck, Omar Infante also has a base hit, but you get the picture. It's 7-1. Gabby's 0 for 2. He's bounced out and struck out, and Dickey misses outside. Marlins had a couple base runners in the 5th, but were unable to score.
Here's one of those situations, 2-0. Let's see if he gets the fastball.
He did. Gabby was ready, and he rips it down the line, off the wall. That is going to be double number 3 for Gabby already.
That's a knowledgeable approach. Early in the game, when he was throwing that knuckleball for strikes, you might not get the fastball, but the fastball's there. 2-0 pitch. It's a checkers double of the game. And that's the kind of swing Gabby has. He has that doubles swing. Gabby last year, 37, 2 base hits.
Here's Morrison now. Knuckleball for a strike. Logan has bounced out and walked. Phillies now beating Houston 5-1 in the 5th. Howard and Francisco have homered. It's a Roy Oswalt start, isn't it?
Yes.
Atlanta 3-1 over Washington in the 7th.
It's a Tim Hudson start.
Yes, it is. Reds are pounding Ryan Braun and the Brewers 8-3 in the 7th. And Morrison, very much unlike Logan Morrison, went up and out of the zone. And there's the first out. Upcoming schedules brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color. Day off for everybody tomorrow, but the Nationals are here on Tuesday through Wednesday, or through Thursday. And it's a getaway night on Thursday. Tommy will be headed to Houston. 3 in Houston. We'll have Friday and Sunday's game on television from Houston. And the rest of that road trip will be on TV in Atlanta and in Philadelphia.
Rich, I got the cowboy boots ready for the trip to Houston.
Funny part about the cowboy boot story, from the Marlins' perspective, is the name of the cowboy boot shop in Houston. There's a bouncer that Wright spears on a short hop pickup and throws out John Buck.
Yeah, if you're ever in Houston, now we're giving this store a plug, but it's a very nice store. It's in the Galleria area. And a lot of Western wear, more boots than I've ever seen.
Here's a look at that play by Wright.
Good. That's a do or die pick. If you don't get it, it's a base hit into left field. But the name of the store is Pinto Ranch.
Bonifacio has struck out twice. As we told you from the outset, the switch hitter hitting right-handed against the knuckleballer. There's a ground ball in right field, base hit. Gabby around third. He'll hold there due to hits the cutoff man. So Cousins has a chance to drive in a run. Now Capuano's ready in the pen. Dickey has given up 4 hits in the last 2 innings after giving up just 1 in the first 4.
I think because Capuano's primarily a starter, that Terry Collins, and because the score 7-1 here, would like to have Capuano begin an inning fresh. So we might see this the last. If Dickey gets through this inning, then I think we'll see Capuano in the 7th.
Wes Helms is on deck, and Cousins takes a rip, and it's 0-1. Little tapper, and Davis is right on the bag, and he'll step on the bag. And the Marlins, for the 2nd consecutive inning, leave a couple of base runners. Still 7-1 Metro. Just 1 through only 67 pitches. The shining light for the Marlins on the mound is still on the mound, and that's Brian Sanchez. 3 outstanding innings of relief, and as Tommy pointed out, saving the bullpen. I know there's a day off tomorrow, but Any manager will tell you having a guy come in and give you 3 innings, hopefully 4, like this is a real shot in the arm.
Especially when he only pitched a little over 10 innings in spring training. He's retired 9 of 10. He hasn't given up a base hit. The only base runner was Lucas Duda. He hit him. 3rd hitter he faced back in the 4th inning.
Sanchez having trouble keeping his shirt tucked in. Remember, the shirt came all the way out when he lined the single into right for his first major league hit. That was against R.A. Dickey. Remember, was it Dontrelle Willis that always used to have trouble keeping his shirt not only tucked in but also buttoned?
Yeah, it was like Dontrelle's shirt top was always too short. That's what it appeared.
He had so much torque that the thing would just come undone. Buck held it, and Pagan strikes out. Time for another tip from Tommy.
Well, there's a couple of things to remember as a youngster when you're playing a game. Watch Reyes. You'll always keep your eyes, have good vision on the field. Know where the runners are. So he sees Infante, a little hesitation third, and he has that strong arm, and he comes to the plate. So a couple of things. You anticipate, before you have the ball hit to you, anticipate what you might want to do. And then you have good vision, and you know where you want to make the throw.
Now, wait a minute here. Pagan has come back to the plate. And they're saying that, here's a look.
That's the splitter. He didn't even come close.
It did hit the dirt. The ball hit the dirt. You see it bounce up into the glove? And Buck dropped it on the transfer. So he didn't hold it cleanly.
Well, and good vision by the umpire at third base, Sam Holbrook. He has the best view, the best angle of that.
We watched it in slow motion, and you could just barely see the ball kick up into the glove of Buck. So Sanchez throws a fastball, and he pops it up in the shallow left. Morrison calling, and Hanley knows that Logan put on 20 pounds in the offseason, so he gets the heck out of the way.
Well, we saw that drill a lot in spring training on the backfields.
Yes.
Infielders, outfielders, and Perry Hill insisting, and I could hear Morrison calling that from up here, insisting that everybody call it 3 times. So it's not just a one time, I got it. It's 3 times.
So Lucas Duda, who's been hit by a pitch, singled and scored. He hit the ball to Gabby Sanchez in the first that looked like it would be a 3-6-3 double play. It's a slicing liner that hits the wall foul by a few feet. That's the ball that Hanley threw away at first and cost the Marlins a first inning run. A Bonifacio throwing error in the 3rd inning cost them 2 more runs and a shot at an inning-ending double play.
So the 2 errors, throwing errors, where you just don't get your body lined up, you don't follow your throw, and those have been very costly today.
Oh, 2 pitch. Got a gorgeous split. And Sanchez just continues to dazzle.
That's a great pitch. That's why we told you both righties and lefties hit under 200 against Brian Sanchez last year. And that's why, especially the lefties.
Here's Murphy, who's doubled in 3 trips. His double came against Vasquez. Anibal Sanchez will get the start on Tuesday night, Chris Volstad on Wednesday, and Josh Johnson will finish off the series against the Nationals with a start on Thursday night. Ricky Nolasco opens up the series against Houston on Friday. Livan Hernandez against Volstad on that Wednesday night. John Lannon, who's pitched well in his first outing of the season. Lefty goes against JJ on Thursday night. As Tommy pointed out, Jason Marquis against Anibal Sanchez. Murphy takes outside.
And Rich, I think we are going to see Capuano. He's continued to throw down there in the bullpen. I think that's going to be all for R.A. Dickey.
Strike from Sanchez. Bryant has now thrown 43 pitches. This is probably one of the longest outings in his career in terms of relief outings.
Absolutely. Longest career outing, 3 1/3 innings. And that was in 09 against Chicago. Longest outing he had last year, eight different times he went 2 innings.
He's 3-2 now on Murphy. And he loses Murphy. He's going to have to face Josh Tolley.
Back in the early days of his career when he was originally drafted, 1999, and you see this pattern a lot. Brian Sanchez was a starter. In 2000, he started 27 games. In 01, 21 games, 15 games as a starter in 02. And then from that point on, he pretty much worked as a relief pitcher.
Runner goes. Little ground ball. Hanley has it. Going to have to throw to first, and he does in time. So Brian Sanchez, spectacular 4 scoreless and hitless innings in relief for the Marlins. Well done.
Ball up to Ike Davis. He hammered it. And that's not the way Javi Vasquez is going to have success. Daniel Murphy, ground rule double on a pitch that's up. So for Javier Vasquez to be successful, he has to keep things on the corners, keep it down, not a good Marlins debut for the veteran. And right now the Marlins trail 7-1, but we had great 4 innings of pitching by Brian Sanchez.
And that's probably the highlight for the Marlins here. A tough loss last night in a lot of ways. Mike Stanton still out of the lineup. Donnie Murphy knocked out. Murphy did pinch hit in this ball game. A day off, and then the Nationals coming in on Tuesday.
You know, it doesn't get easy, and you approach a series like this, and you hope you can win 2 out of 3. Now, this one isn't over, but right now the Mets have clearly outplayed the Marlins, and you know, all of a sudden you look at losing a series to the Mets, a team that you're supposed to be better than. It's a tough way to start the year.
I think one of the things that's discouraging for the Marlins in this one, as you look at some of the changes, Chin Lung Hu is at second base, and he comes in along with Capuano. That'll be a double switch, as Capuano is going to go in the 7 spot in the Mets order, and Hu is now hitting 9th. Capuano last year in his numbers. I think the most disappointing thing for the Marlins today is the 2 plays, the throwing errors, which led to 3 runs. Bonifacio's throwing error, which led to 2, and Hanley's throwing error, which led to 1.
Well, you're exactly right. There's a double play, and it should have been just a poor throw by Hanley, and the Mets were able to get a couple of runs. And then Bonifacio had a play at the plate and just uncorked a wild throw. No chance at all for John Buck. You know, whether or not the Marlins win or lose this game, it would be a lot closer game if not for those 2 errors. You have to give credit to R.A. Dickey. He has shut down the offense.
But you know, a 4-1 game as opposed to a 7-1 game, it changes everything. It changes how pitchers approach hitters. It changes how managers manage games. Wes Helms against Capuano. Helms hits a 1-hopper that Reyes gets in front of, and that strong arm on display. Helms, 1 pitch and 1 out here in the 7th. Up comes Coughlin. Up comes your chance to bring your group out to the ballpark. Save money, provide your group with an unforgettable experience in a Marlins game. Call the group sales department at 305-626-SAVE or go to marlins.com/groups. Marlins baseball, catch our moves. I think we just saw a move right there on the crowd shot. Capuano with a breaking ball that misses outside. It's 1-0.
Capuano at his best, 05, an 18-game winner with the Brewers. Never overpowering, and he doesn't throw as hard as he once did because of Tommy John surgery, and really hasn't pitched very much since 2007.
Is he the guy with the best move in baseball?
He could be, yeah. Yeah, you get on first, he'll surprise a lot of runners, even if they aren't thinking about stealing.
Heard Greg Gibson say that ball was in. And a strike.
I'll see what Fox Tracks has to say. Yeah, it was in there.
There's Capuano, an all-star in Milwaukee. It was 18-12. Davis way behind the bag, flips, and Capuano is there just in front of Coughlin. There are 2 outs.
If the Mets get 2 guys consistently healthy, a guy like Capuano is going to be their number 5 starter, and the big right-hander Chris Young, if those 2 guys can stay healthy, all of a sudden their rotation looks pretty good.
This is undoubtedly Dick Vitale's favorite pitcher in the big leagues.
Capuano.
Yes. He went to Duke.
I thought you were going to say he was a diaper dandy or something.
Now, Chris Young.
I thought you were going basketball with Chris Young.
Well, he was an outstanding player in Pete Carrill's system at Princeton. Not sure if he played for Carrill or Bill Carmody. but Young is on this staff as well. There's another Princeton player in the big leagues, Will Venable.
Will Venable.
Also a basketball player at Princeton.
Yeah, when Venable and Young were both with San Diego, they were ready and willing to take on anybody in basketball.
Yeah, even on 2-on-2, they would back cut you to death.
A third player they did not want to have join them was Zach Greinke, though.
Off the end of the bat, Infante dumps a hit into left, and Omar's got 2 hits. And that brings Hanley to the plate. Hanley is 0 for 3 in this one, with a couple of ground outs and a strikeout.
Zach Greinke, of course, with Milwaukee, an acquisition of the Brewers in the offseason, injured himself right at the beginning of spring training, playing in a little pickup basketball game. A no-no.
Aaron Boone will tell you that, too.
Yeah.
Chad Pennington. Of course, you can say that, but back in the day, didn't you guys used to play like in celebrity exhibition basketball games?
We played 15 or 20 games against like high school faculties.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, we traveled around. It was a great time.
In your Chuck Taylors.
Yeah, that's right. And then you think about Cal Ripken Jr.
Built a gym in his house.
He had a court with a scoreboard and everything in his home, and would have, from what I understand, and talking to Ken Singleton, would have some fierce basketball games played to stay in shape in the offseason.
I know Jeff Nelson pretty well. He was a reliever and grew up in that Maryland area. He used to get invites because Nelly was a big guy, a center. Hanley rifles one into center field, a base hit. Infante will take second. And so the Marlins don't have to face the knuckleballs anymore. Now, they've had a pair of hits in each of the last 3 innings and have yet to score a run in those 3 innings. Gabby doubled in the 6th. He has 3 doubles already. Little looper right field. That falls. Base hit. Infante scores. Hanley on his way to third. He'll get there. And so the Marlins get another run. Comes Logan Morrison.
I'm going to remember this all year because it's so true. What Mike Lowell said about Gabby Sanchez, how he has a nose for the RBI. He can smell it. He gets that little base hit. Didn't hit the ball all that hard, but was able to drop it into right field. And that'll bring the Mets pitching coach Dan Worthen out to the mound to talk with Capuano.
Gabby's 2nd RBI of the season. So now you got Morrison, you got Buck. It's a 7-2 game. And this is the point that you and I have been making throughout the telecast is, yeah, Vasquez was awful to start with, but had the Marlins just played defense, it would be a 4-2 game right now.
Yeah, it's tough to look at a game like that because we would probably see Terry Collins run in different pitchers in a 4-2 game too. Maybe.
Morrison takes outside. Logan is struck out, walked, and bounced out. Two outs. Bottom 7. Capuano misses down low. The Mets bullpen active. So DJ Carrasco.
Tell you what, Carrasco may be getting ready for Buck if it gets to that.
There's Capuano showing off his move. Perry Hill told us the other day that if Capuano got in the ball game, he can pick off runners. He said he can pick off first basemen, and he can pick off first base coaches.
He's picked off a few coaches too. Yeah, if you're a first baseman, you have to be ready.
Gabby at the corners. 3 consecutive hits against Chris Capuano, his first inning in relief. Down low. This is more like Morrison, a lot more selective than his last at bat. R.A. Dickey, 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, struck out 7. Walked only 3 with that knuckleball. 3-1. Bags are loaded, and Buck is probably going to see the right-hander. Terry Collins looking at the lineup card. Carrasco, that's the universal sign in baseball that I'm ready when you put the cap up, and Collins pops out on his way to the mound and going to the bullpen. Bags are loaded with 2 outs here in the 7th. John Buck coming up. Chris Capuano exits. His first pitch is a breaking ball. He's got the old-fashioned socks on with the, it looks like the Mets logo on them. That's old school.
That is old school. Last year, Carrasco spent time with Pittsburgh and Arizona.
Breaking Buck swings and misses, and of course Buck didn't miss this one on opening night against Mike Pelfrey. Got a little different look on the mound with Carrasco than Pelfrey, though.
And Carrasco's gotten ahead quickly, 0-2.
Belfry was up 0-2 in that AB as well. Remember, Buck battled back. After Infante singled, Hanley singled, Gabby singled to drive in a run. Morrison worked to walk. One, two. Fastball in. So he flipped up 3 breaking balls and then busted him in. Is that a show-me pitch?
A lot of times it is, and after that show-me fastball in, he'll go back to the breaking ball.
See what he gets. 2-2 coming. There was a slider again. Now things get interesting. It's 3-2. Remember, it was 0-2. There's Bonifacio on deck. Runners will be moving. Breaking ball, he hung it, and Buck just missed it.
One of those pitches, if you get that pitch earlier in the count when it's not a 3-2 pitch, you might be on it a little bit more. But yeah, it was a good one to hit. And he had a good cut. John Buck just fouled it straight back.
Another 3-2. Fastball, threw it by him at 89 miles an hour. He was sitting on the breaking ball. And the Marlins leave him loaded. 7-2. Knuckleball from R.A. Dickey. Beat the throw to first from right field. Now wait a minute. Dunkin' Donuts high energy cameraman. Is that John Tui?
John Tui too. He's our spokesperson for Dunkin' Donuts.
Look at the sugar on the mouthpiece of his microphone. the viewfinder. He's in mid-season form. Randy Choate going to get some work here. Chung-Ling Hu is up. And Choate spears that ground ball. And pulls Gabby off the bag. I had literally started to write 1-3 in the book.
Well, because at the big league level, it's a routine play. Should never happen. You work on all that stuff. Why work on it in the backfields if you're going to do that in regular season play? You work on it hours after hours, and then you make a throw like that, and you're a major leaguer. Shouldn't happen.
3 throwing errors by the Marlins in this ball game, and now here comes Reyes.
I mean, spring training would be a whole lot shorter if you didn't go through all that nonsense stuff and work on it if you're not going to apply it to these games here.
Amen. Cho to strike to Reyes, who was doubled in 4 trips.
Now, these are situations, Choate just getting an opportunity to work. Normally, we're going to see Randy Choate against lefties, just coming into a game matching up against the other team's left-handed hitters.
But, as you pointed out, in this situation, he's going to have to face some right-handed hitters, because even a guy that's a specialist is going to be called upon on occasion to face a guy from the other side of the plate, and especially in a game like this where you're looking not only to get an inning out of somebody, but for Choate, you want him to work so that he's sharp. Good as a lefty specialist, if he hasn't been used in such a long time that he's not ready for some lefties. On the road trip, the Marlins will run into 2 teams in the division that have the most dangerous left-handed bats, and that's the Braves and then the Phillies. Liner into center field. Coghlan picks it up. So an error by Choate, a single by Reyes. It's Harris now with the 2-run homer back in the first.
We love our crack staff weighing in all the time. And I know you and I were talking a couple of innings ago, because on this Kids Sunday, about the tools of ignorance. And
where the term originated. And
you have to go back to the early 1900s. Of course, catchers are always expected to take their lumps, but the early era of catching, they didn't wear a whole lot of stuff back there.
So is this cracked staffer a former catcher?
Yeah, it's a former catcher. It's our West Coast crack staffer who weighs in on occasion. So a reaction came from the crowd at the Polo Grounds one day when baseball New York Giants opened the 07 season against the Philadelphia Phillies. Their catcher, Roger Bresnahan, they thought looked more like a goaltender because he donned all this catching gear. So there was a writer who dubbed the look of that catcher, dubbed the tools of ignorance at that time. So you have to go back to the early 1900s.
When Matt Trainer was here, Trainer, by the way, had a big hit in the comeback win for the Royals yesterday. He called them the implements of intelligentsia. Did Bresnahan have a mask on at that point?
Some kind of mouthpiece.
It was a grounder. Bonifacio got it out there. Infante's turn. Gabby picked, but Harris is safe.
the Mets have runners at the corners.
A tough double play. Wasn't really hit sharply. And wow, Willie Harris runs well, and the Marlins almost turned it. So that was almost a nifty double play.
Yeah, it looked like he did beat it. That's tough on the bounce.
Yep. He got there just ahead of the throw.
It's a good call by Todd Titchener at first. So David Wright gets to face Choate with runners at the corners. Davis on deck. Runner goes. Buck's throw is through. And the Mets steal second base. Willie Harris.
I think that's the way the Mets are going to play. It's the way they're going to have to play. Terry Collins has instilled that in his ball club.
And that's going to allow the Marlins to walk Wright. And so he doesn't have to face, Choate doesn't have to face Wright. Wright's thinking to himself, man, it was all set up against a lefty specialist. Look at the look on his face.
He may have a talk with Willie Harris after the game.
Because now you've got the left-handed bat, and that works out better for Choate. Mike Davis. And the switch hitter Pagan is on deck.
Been a nice day for Ike Davis, who was up there in Rookie of the Year votings. I think Ike finished 7th voting. Father Ron Davis, a good reliever in the major leagues. Had some good years with the Yankees and the Minnesota Twins. I'm sure he has some good stories because Ron Davis, his dad, was a setup guy for Goose Gossage back in some of those Yankee days.
That's before there were setup guys.
Yeah, they didn't refer to them as. Well, he was setting up Gossage to go two and a third innings.
Choate with a fastball. There's a look at who. Reyes, or rather Harris. And Wright. Reyes was erased on the fielder's choice. One pitch is a strike. So far so good on this lefty-lefty matchup thing against Davis. Now the 1-2. Sweeping breaking ball. And it's 2-2. Joe came in. And Davis fouled it back. You talked about Choate's ability to get lefties out, and that's what the Marlins targeted. And the ability to have another lefty and Dunn in the pen helps when one of the lefties is just a specialist.
And I think we've seen Mike Dunn have success. He has good enough stuff. It doesn't matter, lefties or righties.
Last year, lefties hit just .202 against Choate. Righties hit .410.
Bottom line, he created this mess himself with the lob throw, the throwing error at first base on the first batter he faced.
Mets have the bags full and a big lead, 7-2. Choate gets him on the outside corner. He's not done yet. Now he has to face a pinch hitter, or excuse me, a switch hitter in Angel Pagan. That last pitch, let's see where it pops up. Just off the corner, but you can see the pattern. He had established the strike zone. He stretches it a bit and he gets the call. So Pagan, who's walked twice and popped out twice. The bag's loaded. Top of the 8th in South Florida on a short start day by Javier Vasquez. Not so for R.A. Dickey, who went 6.
R.A. Dickey looks to pick up his first win. He was 11-9 last year, 7th in the league in ERA.
Close.
Of course, Dickey won 4 games in AAA before he was called up.
Not sure you can take that to arbitration, can you?
No.
Choate to the plate. He misses down low. Choate is 35. He's been in the big leagues for a while. He is a Seminole. He pitched at Florida State. Grew up in San Antonio. Pitched in 3 postseasons. 2 with the Yankees, 2000 and 2001. And last year with the Rays. And the Marlins did sign him to a 2-year, $2.5 million contract. (3-1). Lost him. Bases loaded walk, and it's 8-2. Lucas Duda was due up, but Scott Hairston is going to come up. And since the game has jumped the rails, Choate out there trying to get lefties and righties out, and Hairston a pinch hitter with pop.
Well, it also allows Terry Collins to keep Hairston in the game defensively and get him in the outfield.
How's the iPad working out over there?
Actually, the iPad in a game like this becomes very interesting and a useful tool.
I know. I can tell. It looks like you have downloaded the MLB at Bat app, which is cool because it's sort of it's got the mock-up of the ballpark.
What it does, Rich, it helps us multitask. It helps us keep track of the other games that are going on at this time. Kind of figured we'd see Ryan Webb. He had a rough outing, his first appearance as a Marlin. So if not in this inning, I'm sure next inning we'll see Ryan.
Hairston takes outside. Hairston is, as you know, part of a 3-generation Major League family. His father, Jerry Hairston, played in the big leagues for a long time. His brother, Jerry, is in the big leagues as well. We'll see him with Washington. Ground ball in the hole. Hanley to third. Safe. Bonifacio was not on the base. It's 9-2.
Not an easy play by any means. It was the only play Hanley had. Hairston runs well. So the play is to go to third to try to get the out. But you saw Bonifacio take a couple of steps to his left. And by the time he retreated back to third, he couldn't find the bag. And everybody's safe.
Base hit, fielder's choice.
Fielder's choice all the way.
And since there were 2 outs, no RBI. And there's been a Carlos Beltran sighting. Beltran getting the day off until that swing there. Cousins makes the catch. Messy day for the Fish. 9-2 Mets. To the bottom of the 8th we go.
Just faintly you can hear Logan Morrison, and to Hanley Ramirez it wasn't faintly. Logan Morrison calling him off, that saying I got it more than 3 times to make sure he avoided any kind of collision. Scott Harrison stays in the game and he'll play right field. So that's one change for the Mets. We've seen a couple of times Tim Burdack warming up in the bullpen. So the left-hander for the Mets now comes into work here in the 8th.
So Burdack arrives. Bonifacio is first up. And he takes a strike.
The only time you see sometimes collisions, not all the time, is if both fielders are yelling, I got it, at the same time.
Balls hit well in the gap for Bonifacio, racing around first. He'll get to second easily. So Emilio Bonifacio, who had a couple of hits in last night's game, has 2 hits in this one, a double.
So sometimes, Rich, you get a big crowd, you get 40,000 people, and then 2 guys yelling at the same time. That's when you have some problems. It's a nice swing by Bonifacio. He has a little more pop from that right side.
You can have issues too when nobody calls it, right?
Yeah, if nobody calls it, then you're in trouble.
Cousins against the lefty. And a strike. One of the things the Marlins liked about Cousins last year is you see Taylor Buchholz, who has appeared or was about to appear last night. He appeared in Friday night's game. Marlins liked the way Cousins hung in there against lefties last year. Scott's walk, struck out, and bounced out. Burdak's breaking ball misses up. Lexus leaders of the game, presented by JM Lexus, youngest opening day team. Marlins, right behind Kansas City and Pittsburgh. JM Lexus, price made us #1. Click jmlexus.com to find out how. A swing and a miss. After the Marlins, the 4th youngest team in baseball, the Cleveland Indians, and the 5th, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Throw out the Angels, but you have Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City. Of those 4 teams, the expectation is a little greater, certainly for the Marlins, than for the Pirates or for the Royals or for Cleveland.
I think the talent level as well is
Yeah.
a lot higher for the Marlins in terms of. Jeff Conine talked about it in Marlins Live before the ball game. It's the youngest, one of the youngest outfields, Stanton, Coghlan, and Morrison, in the big league since 1990. Only 2 other outfielders, or 2 other outfields, have been younger, and they were both Tampa Bay Ray outfields. The Baldelli,
Carl
Crawford, Ben Grieve outfield, and then a few years later when I think Elijah Dukes was in the mix. To put a cap on that note, here's the 3-2, a swing and a miss by Cousins. So this is the 9 spot, and Brett Hayes is going to get a pinch hitting appearance. Hayes came into the ballgame as a pinch runner last night and ended up getting an at-bat and ended up getting a hit. Hayes drove in a run in that 10th inning. The Marlins losing 6-4 last night. Hayes has himself another hit as Harris trapped that ball. Bonifacio wasn't sure if he caught it or not and figured it's 9-2. If I get doubled off second, down 7, I'm in real trouble. And so he ends up back at second base. But Hayes, his second hit in 2 days.
So the young man out of the same high school as Mike Stanton is off to a 2-for-2 start in this 2011 season.
Coghlan now.
And at all costs, Brett Hayes wants to avoid Nigel Morgan this year.
Coghlan hits a fly ball to the left. Harris looking up into the sun makes the catch. Coghlan has opened the season 1 for 12. I guess now this series is coming to a close. We can start looking at who's had a good series.
Yeah, Omar Infante with 3 hits in the series. Hanley has 3. Gabby Sanchez and John Buck have probably been the most productive. Gabby with 3 doubles, 5 base hits. And you move forward and you settle into a long season.
Burnett misses outside to Infante. Burdak taking over for DJ Carrasco, who took over for Chris Capuano. Dickey went the first 6 innings. Marlins piecing it together after a short start by Vasquez. Mojica for 2/3. Sanchez a huge piece, 4 no-hit innings. And then Randy Choate coming in, and in his inning of work, giving up a couple of unearned runs. So what's that? 5 unearned runs in this one? There were 3 before Choate gave up his 2. 5.
You are correct.
Of course, I've always thought that when a pitcher makes an error and that turns into unearned runs, there ought to be some way to charge that to a pitcher's line. You know, Choate makes that throwing error, and that opens the door, and yet all the runs unearned.
Or the other one that always gets me is that an error's made, which would have been the 3rd out of the inning. Then the pitcher gives up back-to-back home runs. They're unearned.
Davis to the wall, makes a nice play. And he retires Infante, and the Marlins leave 2 more. You can check us out on Facebook. John Tuitu, I think, has his own link to the Fox Sports Florida Sun Sports Facebook page.
Thousands of friends for Tuitu.
Ryan Webb. And a chance for Webb to kind of erase the memory of last night. It was Webb that took over for Leo Nunez. Remember, Nunez gave up a run in the 9th. Webb came out and started the 10th. A single to Reyes. Angel Pagan laid down that bunt that turned into a single. And then David Wright hit the pop-up down the right field line that as Cousins approached the wall, he laid off on in hopes that either Webb would strike out Wright or he'd bounce into a double play, and Wright singled the center. Fastball up and in. And those were the 3 hitters that Webb faced. Willie Harris would then knock in 2 of those runs off of Mike Dunn, and all those runs ended up on Webb's line. That's what Josh Tolley does so well. He just slaps the ball to the left side. Morrison picked it up. It was Tolley who slapped the hit to left against Nunez last night.
So starting to get a little frustrating for Ryan Webb. He's faced 4 hitters as a Marlin, and he's given up 4 base hits. And you're right about Tolley. That's him at his best. Opposite field, side of the field that's opposite the batter. So Tolley, a left-handed hitter. And as Major Leaguers will say, he went oppo. So opposite field to left field.
That's not a Greek bar in.
No. Oppo.
Oh, okay. Oppo. Chin-Ling Hu now. And Hu fouls one back. Looked like Webb kind of caught a spike as he came off the mound.
One of the things that Ryan Webb did last year, initially he didn't start the season with the Padres. He went down to the minor leagues, and the one thing they wanted, he wanted to work on, was a little more of a 3/4 arm angle. And he did that. Didn't take him long to get back to the Padres, and had a very solid year out of their bullpen.
Hu takes down low. Hu, as we've told you, out of Taiwan and in the Dodgers system since 2003. Got to Los Angeles in parts of 07, 08, 09, and last year, playing in a handful of games each time. Rolls it up the middle. Hanley across the bag. Makes the throw and gets him.
You know, the crazy thing about this game, the Marlins have actually compiled more hits than the Mets. But the Mets have 8 hits, and 5 of them are for extra bases. They've hit a couple of home runs. 3 doubles and 2 home runs.
And those 3 errors hanging up on the board, accounting for the 5 unearned runs.
And the Marlins have stranded 9 runners in their last 4 innings. They've left 10 men on base their last 5 innings.
We're just full of good cheer here in the 9th. Been a frustrating day for the Fish.
We get the day off. You and I, Rich, will be able to regroup, come back Tuesday night.
Marlins are hoping that Mike Stanton gets to come back Tuesday night. And that's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
Edwin could care less if you and I come back Tuesday night.
Right.
But Mike Stanton, we hope he is back, certainly.
And, of course, on Tuesday night, our first of the year, email and Twitter Tuesday.
It's always a tough night for John Tuitu, our cameraman down there, low third, because his Facebooking, his tweeting, his email, he has a hard time focusing on the game.
You look at all the friends he has behind him.
Yeah, yeah.
It's on his cell phone. It's a 9-2 game in the 9th when we resort to using John Tuitu as comic relief. Infield's in, and Reyes, Infante, a great play. Oh man, Omar Infante has really shown off his defense in these first 3 games of 2011.
He's made 2 plays today going up the middle. It shows his range to his right and to his left. And because the infield was in, the runner at third, Josh Tolley, his job, okay, make sure that ball gets through. It didn't get through, and Infante made a terrific play.
Now Willie Harris. And he swings and misses at a nice sinker. Well, the Atlanta Braves pounded Washington. That was a close game early on, but it's dissolved into an 11-2 Atlanta lead. Brian McCann has driven in 4. No home runs in the ball game. Jordan Zimmerman absorbed some punishment as the starter for the Nats, but the Nationals bullpen has coughed up a bunch of runs as well. Tim Hudson went 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. So Bodacious looks like he's in mid-season form.
The only little down news for the Braves is the fact that we mentioned earlier, Jair Jurgens is placed on the disabled list.
Phillies' lead is now 7-2 over Houston. Ryan Howard and Ben Francisco homering. Hunter Pence hit his first homer for Houston. That's a 9th inning score in Philly. Wild that Houston doesn't open their season until the Marlins get there on Friday night.
You would think teams with domes especially would stay away from northeastern cities, but that's not always what happens. Marlins last year opened up in New York.
And I know it's easy, and just about every team looks at their schedule and says, why are we playing here at this time? Why are we going there? But I would not want to be the person that has to make the schedule, because there's so many demands from teams who want to be home on certain dates, who can't be home on other dates, depending on concerts like the U2 concert, which was such a nightmare last year and it is again a nightmare this year. The reason the Marlins have to play that home series up in Seattle.
Yeah, the Marlins' 3 home games that would have been against Seattle will now be at Seattle. So go figure.
You'd think Bono would at least send us some swag or something, you know, like some U2 shirts.
Backstage passes for future concerts or something.
A U2 hoodie.
Good pitch. Bottom fell out of that.
Ryan Webb gets through the 9th. The Marlins in the bottom of the 9th, down 7.
Toronto for Buchholz.
After that 3-game series against the Nationals, the Marlins are headed to Houston and then to Atlanta. We'll see the Braves get a real taste of the division just in the first 2 weeks of the season. Philadelphia ends that road trip. Hanley's 1 for 4. Buchholz splits the plate. Jaime Garcia picking up where he left off last year with the Cardinals as he throws a 4-hit shutout against the San Diego Padres. 2-0. The Cardinals shut out the Padres.
So the Cardinals salvaged the last game to that series. San Diego had won the first 2 games.
The Reds ended up beating Milwaukee, sweeping Milwaukee 12-3. Those were the 2 fashionable picks in the Central in the offseason. The Reds, of course, who got to the postseason. Milwaukee, who bolstered their rotation with Markham and Greinke. 12-3 today. Bronson Arroyo, the Gold Glove winner, got the win. Randy Wolf is the one that took most of the punishment. He gets the loss.
Not a good day for the Wolfpack.
No. But a great day if you're a Red. I mean, the balls were jumping as they usually do out of Cincinnati. Johnny Gomes, Brandon Phillips, and Ryan Hannigan hit 2. Ryan Braun and Ricky Weeks both hit their second homers of that series. 12-3 Cincinnati over Milwaukee. Postponed in Colorado. Arizona and Colorado. Snowstorm. Mix of rain and snow. Yesterday it was 84 degrees in Denver. And wow. Snow started this morning. It was rain an hour before the start of the game. It turned into snow. And we've been there. It seems like we've been in the snow in Colorado a couple times over the last 5 or 6 years. Dodgers and Giants tonight. Well, just an awful incident in the Dodger Stadium parking lot with the beating of a Giant fan at the start of that series. That fan still in serious condition. Swing and a miss by Hanley.
These are those at bats. It's just a good fastball by Buchholz that are hard to keep your concentration on. And really, really good hitters are able to do that. It's a game that a couple outs away from being over. You're down 7 runs, but
Buchholz misses outside to Gabby. It just pops it up behind the plate. Tolley for a look. Been impressed watching Josh Tolley in this series. He had a really solid year last year. Very fundamentally sound behind the plate. And at the plate, he's beginning to develop that personality of a slap hitter, a line drive hitter.
And every once in a while, put a charge into one and hit a home run. But yeah, he's going to be their #1 catcher. And when Ronnie Paulino gets back, Paulino will be his backup, and he'll probably catch. As we know, Ronnie, the way he hits left-handers, will play a lot against left-handers.
Here's the 1-2. Gabby lines it. By the way, if you're a Marlins fan and a baseball fan, you might want to set your DVR later this afternoon for a show on MLB Network. You know, they're doing the 20 greatest games ever. Well, the game that they're playing tonight, I think, is number 7. It's the Marlins against the Cubs in the 2003 National League Championship Series, Game 6. And from what I've heard, the in-studio guest with Tom Verducci and Bob Costas is Jack McKeon.
Jack McKeon is going to be there.
That's going to be entertaining to hear Jack talk about that series. How many of the names will he mispronounce? Number 1. And number 2, how many times will he say, well, you know, I knew this was going to happen, so I just did this.
It's going to be fun.
That will be fun.
Hey, Gabby picks up his 3rd hit. So Gabby Sanchez, 6 hits this weekend against the Mets. He's off to a nice start. And he's just continuing what he did in spring training.
Here's Lomo. Now, he's 0 for 2, but I think importantly for Morrison, he's walked twice. That's been part of his baseball DNA for a long time, that plate recognition, plate discipline. Morrison, of course, had the home run on opening night and a 2-run single yesterday. And he takes in. The Lomos, as Scott Cousins called them. Will probably have Donnie Murphy back at 3rd base on Tuesday night. The question is whether Mike Stanton will be ready. Morrison takes that outside. 3 walks today for Logan Morrison. You know, that's a stat we were talking earlier about. You can't take a certain thing to arbitration. You can take that to arbitration now. On base percentage.
Yeah, you can take that on base percentage to arbitration. Yes.
Yes, that's a stat, obviously, that's been much more valuable in many people's eyes. I think it's always been valuable, but with Sandy Alderson, what he started.
Well, last year, in Logan Morrison's 62 games after he was called up, his on-base percentage was .390, and he saw over 4 pitches per at bat.
Here's Buck. He taps one wide of 3rd, right, goes across the diamond, and Buck bounces out. He'll bring up Bonifacio with 2 outs here in the 9th.
The other thing, if you go back, Rich, to Chris Coughlin's rookie year, Coughlin's on-base percentage was .390.
Yeah,
he was doing a lot of the same thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing that Chris told us he got away from last year. He was chasing pitches, trying to get hits just to fulfill all the accolades and live up to the Rookie of the Year award. In the air to left. Harris will squeeze it, and Bonifacio flies out to left. The Mets have finished off the Marlins, and New York comes in. And after dropping opening night, the Mets win last night, and they win today, and they take the series. And so the 2011 season opens for the Fish with a series loss to the Mets. Day off, and then the Nationals on Tuesday night. There's your final. 9 runs, 8 hits for the Mets, 2-11-3 for the Fish. 5 of those Mets runs unearned on 3 errors on the Marlins infield. Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida.